One of the most common comments I receive comes in the form of a very clever joke. Friendly Geordies, more like not so friendly Geordies. Every time I hear that, I think, why didn't I think of that? It's such a funny call. It needs to be said again and again and again and again. But that comment seems to have been overtaken by a new clever little saying. How ironic. It seems the fixated person's unit is fixated with you. I mean, if that comment is starting to annoy me and I wholeheartedly agree with the comment, how much would reading that comment every day piss off the fixated person's unit? We're not fixated on you. All we've done is concocted bogus charges on you and your employee that have had no hope of getting anywhere and are still wasting hundreds of thousands of taxpayer dollars to prosecute those charges just to be vindictive. How is that fixated? The irony goes deeper than that. The Fixated Persons Unit was established in 2017 by Mick Fuller, just before the inquest into the Link Cafe siege was released, so Fuller could go, "Whoa, what's that over there? Look at that. I may have been in charge of one of the greatest policing fuck-ups in New South Wales history, and a report's about to be released saying as such, but look. Have you seen Taxi Driver? We're making a cop unit that would have gotten Travis from Taxi Driver before he killed that lovely pimp. What an epic movie, great meaning." Which, speaking of pimps, I wonder if Mick Fuller has ever met brothel owner Eddie Hayson. No reason for me to ask in particular, I just really wonder. Might be a question his future employers should ask. Then again, Slippery Mick never answered questions, even when he was compelled to by law. We still to this day don't know the co-owners of his racehorses. When he was asked, he always gave sly and whiny answers. Judges can own them, politicians can own them, but poor battling police commissioners can't do anything. Jesus, you only need to watch one budget estimates to see how little respect that guy had for the people of New South Wales. He could do a Mr. Hands with his racehorse on the floor of Parliament, and David Elliott would just sit there in awe. Well, I stand to be corrected. Cops aren't always tops. But back to the Fixated Persons Unit, it was ostensibly created to counter the risk of perpetrators that might have an irrational fixation on individuals, but like every situation, a Star Wars prequel meme really does best describe what happened next to the unit. You've become the very thing you swore to destroy. If how the unit is targeting friendly Geordies isn't a strong enough case study that well and truly demonstrates that the unit are irrationally fixated, how about charging, imprisoning, and raiding someone's home all based off of nothing? Is that irrationally fixated enough? Well, not entirely based on nothing, based on a complete and utter lie from the son of a politician. A politician who, mind you, in a capacity as a public office holder, I think is an awful epic benchmark. Constable Daniel Keneally, the son of Christina Keneally, got a man arrested by claiming a man had rung up the police station and threatened to kill police. The geniuses at the Fixated Persons Unit obviously thought, oh yeah, no way someone with political connections could be lying, and they travelled all the way from Sydney down to the south coast where this man was and arrested him. The man was then denied bail despite telling the magistrate he had recordings of the phone calls that would exonerate him. He was then imprisoned in solitary confinement for 3 weeks. The police eventually realised they f***ed up, and the Commonwealth Department of Prosecutions dropped the charges right after Christo was arrested. What a coincidence. The man was then awarded costs, so this whole ordeal has already cost the cops $29,000 from their little piggy bank. So just this, along with their failed venture to charge me with contempt of court, the Fixated Persons Unit has wasted the taxpayer a good 50 grand, pretty much because they couldn't be bothered to do what even the worst people on earth are good at, Redditors, ask sus. To be fair, Fixated Persons Unit are probably more Facebook people. Yuck, I just stepped in a great big pile of Monday. Karen Webb, you're the new police commissioner. You have a chance to do the right thing and boost your overtime budget. Just abolish the unit. Then after having the man illegally detained for 3 weeks, stare down multiple serious charges for months, all based on a lie, Daniel Keneally had the gall to instruct one of the most expensive defamation lawyers in the country to threaten the man and Sirkin from True Crime News Weekly with a concerns notice after the truth of the matter came to light. And I have to be honest, the man who was falsely imprisoned is now sending the police some pretty nutty messages. But that's because that's what this unit does to people, by arresting people for political communication, no matter how nutty it is, and especially if it's not existent. All this does is marginalise people further and validate whatever dangerous conspiracies they might believe in. Just like they did with us, except that shit ain't no conspiracy, mate.
John, I've got a lawsuit. You're suing my boss.
John was suing me. And had his own f***ing law firm's process services contact Christo, thus initiating the suit and bringing him into it literally a day or two before Christo was arrested for doing the exact same thing.
Hello?
Yeah, hi, my name's... Is that Christo?
Yeah.
But I'm not the only one the Nats have a problem with. I have an exclusive story here, a story that's one of the most disgusting abuses of political and police power that truly demonstrates how compromised the New South Wales police force were under Mick Fuller. There's this Facebook page called Anyone But Nats. It's pretty much a bunch of guys in national electorates exposing how shit the Nationals really are. Give it a like if you can, links in the description, it's really great. How do I know it's great? Pissed off the Nationals so much that John Barilaro used parliamentary privilege to have a tantrum about it on the floor of Parliament. He seriously whinged about a Facebook page in Parliament. Him and Nicole Flint like to use the floor of Parliament as a substitute for a psychiatrist. What the hell has happened to the coalition? They went from the Menzies Forgotten People speech to Travis from Daniloquin in the Daniloquin 2710 Facebook group said, "Just forget about him, bro. He's not worth it." Well, it's hard when he keeps coming up in my notifications! No wonder Scobo's running on anti-trolling. If these are the only people he hangs out with, they must be the only concerns he hears. But anyway, the Anyone But Nats Facebook page made a post about how the New South Wales government gave a $1.1 million grant to a company where the local Nationals member Dougal Saunders' wife works, and a $1.6 million grant to a golf club where his daughter works. Pretty public interest shit. This enraged Dougal, so in typical National Party fashion, he demanded that one of the admins of the page, a man called Charles Tim, takes the post exposing the grants down. They both eventually end up on ABC Radio, where Dougal just looks like a massive sook.
How are you feeling this morning looking at that post, having your family brought into it?
Pissed off. This is one of the most gutless, pathetic, irresponsible and defamatory uses of social media I've ever seen. To put a photo of my daughter is seriously pathetic, and I'm investigating all of the options available. But one thing I would say at the start is I would suggest that the administrators of this site remove that very, very promptly. And I'm glad to see that people maybe have responded. I don't follow that page. I don't have anything to do with that page. But I've had several people reaching out to me saying they can't believe what's been done. And the faceless morons behind this sort of an attack, and choosing a time like now, Nick, when we've been, first of all, we just had Women's Week last week, celebrating all the good things that young professional women are doing in our community, and then to highlight my wife and daughter as we're also investigating federal and state parliament and workplaces and culture. Are you serious? I mean, I'm absolutely flabbergasted that somebody or these group of people would choose now to be launching an attack against me and my family. It is pathetic.
Dougal, I'm just going to leave you there for 1 second because we've actually got in touch with Charles Tim. He's the founder of Anyone But the Nats. Charles, obviously that post is raising a lot of anger.
Oh, look, I don't think so. Not at all. The issue, Dougal unfortunately is an inveterate liar. He was at a seminar in Mudgee and said he was opposed to CSG and turned around a couple of
We're not talking about that. We're talking about his family being brought into that post.
I'm just trying to give you a context.
Hang on, what context? What context could there be for his family being brought into that post, Charles?
Charles just calmly tramples over the arguments of both the host and Dougal, but because the Nats can't stand publicly losing an argument, Dougal then makes this threat.
Dougal, are you going to contact the police over this matter?
I've already I've actually tried to reach out to the police commander this morning. I believe it is an illegal use of a social media carriage to menace, particularly against my daughter. And one of the volunteers, I would suggest, is one of the people who'll be here today in Parliament, and I'm suggesting they're using this as a tactic to try and unsettle me ahead of a petition debate about the River Street Bridge. Now, I'm big enough and ugly enough to take care of myself. But you bring my family into it, and I'm sorry, and we've seen members of Parliament that cop this, including the Deputy Premier, time after time. People talk about mental health and looking after young people and looking after women and looking after people in the workplace. This is an out-and-out attack personally against myself and my family. And Charles Tim needs to take a good, hard look at himself. He's threatened me, and I've got text messages threatening me that he'll spend every day and every penny he's got to unseat me, and that's fine. I ignore that and take that with a grain of salt. But when he attacks my family, I think any reasonable person can see this has nothing to do with my 19-year-old daughter. Give me a break.
Good Saunders, we'll leave it there. You're in Sydney. Thank you very much.
Very interesting that Dougal mentions Barilaro. Charles is then charged by the police with using a carrier service to menace and harass, despite the fact that the post that instigated this shit wasn't even made by him. It was made by another admin of Anyone But Nats. So the cops just used some personal text between Charles and Dougal from years earlier to sting him. Long story short, how do you think this case went? Well, trick question, because just like the case from before, the Commonwealth Department of Prosecutions dropped the case. This again happened under the leadership of Mick Fuller. The relationship between Mick Fuller, Dougal Saunders and John Barilaro needs to be heavily scrutinised. In fact, you know what? Let's also scrutinise Fuller's relationship with Stacey Maloney. No reason, just cause. Chuck David Elliott and Morrison in there too. Anyway, this video's just turned out to be a long smorgasbord of shit that needs to go on record before Fuller goes to work at, I don't know, Star Casino or Greyhounds New South Wales. He's got the face for it. Nope. I'm working for a charity for people with mouths so small, there's no way the answer to who they owned racehorses with can possibly fit through their tiny, tiny lips. It'll be called Small-Lipped Youth, Cops for Understanding and Not Teasing. What else do I have? Oh, this one's good. Did you know David Elliott and Mick Fuller were furious at Matt Keane because he called for an inquiry into the 1979 Luna Park ghost train fire? Could these two get any more dodgy? I'm serious. If you're in the press, ask David Elliott if he opposed an inquiry. Is anyone else starting to think it's really strange that Mick Fuller resigned after just one term of being commissioner, right after Christo's arrest, no less? The new commissioner, Karen Webb, needs to front up and seriously investigate the tenure of Mick Fuller as police commissioner. And this federal election, you need to make sure that you put the libs last. After all, Fuller was neighbours with Scott Morrison. Fuller used the police force for the coalition in the same way the woke mob used Twitter. Instead of the police protecting the public, they cancelled the political enemies of the coalition for daring to speak. Australia needs a clean out of these sensitive bent authoritarian pussies. And Dougal, grow a set. In fact, like and subscribe if you think Dougal had his nuts clipped.
Please share and comment below. Comment.